abundance of land that you can live and survive on already, or you're lucky enough to have a wealthy family that will buy you the property that you need to do so, you're going to need to pay your own way and buy your own land if you want to get out of this system. If you've been given the things, this is great. No ill will or hard feelings. This is great. Your parents are ahead of mine, and they've done what I intend on doing for my children. That's great. Don't spoil this invaluable gift that you've been given. You've got everything you need to make a good start and future in life. So you're probably going to have to buy your own way out, unless you think it's okay to take land by conquest, which I don't recommend because it's frowned upon in the modern day. You're probably going to have to buy. So what do you need to consider? What do you need to look out for? What are some pros and cons of going into debt for your land versus buying and working and saving and buying something outright? Because there are positives and negatives to both. I've outlined my situation, how I'm in debt, and for the most part I view this as a bad way to go about it. You're going to be paying a lot more for your property over time than it's worth due to interest rates, etc. And you're enslaved in the system for longer. However, it's not entirely all bad since I've been thinking about it. So there are some benefits to doing it this way, and one of these benefits is that you've got your land straight away. Once you've bought it, you've got to work to pay it off for a while, but you can already begin building on it. You can start planting trees, you can start building compost, you can start, depending on how far away from where you're going to be living in the meantime, maybe you can live there whilst you pay the thing off, which means you can probably start to raise animals and whatnot as well. So you can begin to be somewhat dependent on yourself as soon as possible, or more or less immediately. There is going to be some wait before you actually become autonomous, or begin to become autonomous. Probably it's at least 7 years really before you can get any good return from your property. Even just fruit trees alone, if you're, whatever situation you're in now, I'm presuming you're buying food, so if you're eating fruits and vegetables that have seeds in them, you could be planting these seeds as you're eating the thing, which means you've got a free start that you can be putting in your land. You can't do this if you go through the work, save, buy method, because you can't begin there until you've got the property, of course. So that's a positive, or a potential positive to going down the debt road. Another potential positive, and it is only a potential positive, it's a bit of a gamble, and this is something that I like to have my fingers crossed on with my situation, is that if society and the banking system and everything collapses, you don't have to pay your debt anymore. You've already got your foothold and you've got your position in your land, and if you've got neighbours, they have already established that that's your land. You don't have to fight for it, you don't have to make a push. You still have to defend it in the future, of course. This is something that can happen at any time. But you've already got it, you've already got a start, you already know it, it's already yours. You just don't have to work for it anymore. So you might get lucky in that sense and actually end up working less. But of course that is a gamble. But it's something to consider. So, certainly what I hope for it every day. And then I just stay home and do what I want to do, what I was meant to be doing. So that's the potential positives to doing it that way. But yeah, for the most part, it's a terrible financial step to take, because of course you're going to end up paying a lot more than what your property's worth, most likely, worst case situation. Then if you go down the work, save, buy method, yeah, you have to wait until you've got enough money to pay for the thing before you can even start preparing for production for yourself. Now this can take years depending on how efficient and effective you are at earning money and property prices and things like that. I'm not going to go into how you're going to earn your money. That's up to you and your ethics. We've all got ethics, we've all got things that we think are right and wrong and okay. I'd prefer to have nothing to do with money, honestly. I think money is a dirty thing, but if I didn't do anything and deal with it at all, I'd be getting nowhere as well. It's an unfortunate reality that we have to deal with today. So yes, we have to make compromises, we have to somewhat be hypocrites sometimes, do things that we don't think are ideal, but remember, we don't live in an ideal world, we don't live in an ideal situation. The least you can do is be honest with your situation and your position, and yes, you might have to do things that you think are unethical or wrong or whatever. Just at least be honest about it to yourself, at least, whatever you have to do. Of course, you can moderate what things you do and don't do for a dollar. There's certain things that I think are absolutely unethical that I'll never do, and then, if they're that bad, of course you never do them, but you have to be realistic. Well, no one's perfect, no one's pure. We've all done things, so just be honest about it at least. But as far as earning goes, that's your own thing to deal with. And then there's the buying side of it. What are you going to be buying? And a lot of this is all common sense, but I don't know, maybe some people don't think about this. I've thought about it often and a lot. So to me it's common sense, and if it is common sense to you already, that's great. But something you consider when you're buying property, whether you work, save, buy, or go into debt, is, are you buying something that's already productive? That's something to consider. But of course, if you buy something that's got food produce on it already, of course you're going to be paying a higher price for that, and therefore you'll be working longer, one way or another, to pay for it. Or you can buy something that's a relatively clean slate. Of course, you don't want a full-on desert, but you might get some old grazing country or something like that, which can be built up into a food forest, and you can have animals on there, you can do everything that you need to do, but it's going to take time still. So you've got time it takes to purchase and time it takes to produce. If you go into the debt system, you're going to spend longer purchasing the place, and you're going to be making slower and steadier steps towards production. So you might actually end up producing sooner something, but it might potentially take a longer time until you're 100% autonomous. If you work, save, buy, you might spend less time overall working to pay for the thing, but you might end up waiting a lot longer before you're at full production. As far as which road you take is going to lead to autonomy sooner, I'm not 100% sure. It might be a case of the turtle versus the hare. I don't really know, but this is something to think about, and it's a case-by-case basis based on what property prices are where you are and how you're going to pay for them. I would certainly advise either way that you try and work to do so at a comfortable level. Don't get over enthusiastic and think if you do a 100-hour week you're going to get out sooner. You might do it. I tried this and it didn't work out for me. I don't know anyone who's done the kind of work and hours that I've done to try and achieve this, but I actually didn't get anywhere. I went backwards slightly, in fact, because of all the costs of working. The temptation's always there to try and get out of debt sooner if you get there. I was trying to get out because I didn't want to be in debt in the first place. So these things to consider. As far as how much land you need, it depends on how many people you want to feed. Depending on where you live, your climate and everything like that, you've got different things to consider as far as how productive your land is going to be. My rule of thumb is one person per half acre. So that means 2 acres will feed a family of 4. Consider your children adults, even though they're going to eat far less when they're little. You don't want to be thinking you can support a whole family and then realize that, hey, once they get bigger they eat more food and now I don't have enough land to feed my entire family. So consider each child you intend on having as a full-grown adult and make sure you buy accordingly. And I'd work on half an acre per person per year, sort of thing. And that's everything: meat, eggs, dairy, fruit. Certain foods are more efficient to be produced than others, and I think a lot of people would be surprised about the efficiency of certain diets for production and nutrition. But I'm not going to go into nutrition and diet and that because that'll upset too many people. Undoubtedly, and I'm wanting to help people, not upset people. Sometimes the truth is upsetting and the truth is unavoidable, but as far as obtaining land and what to look out for, that's something. These are all things to consider that I've mentioned, and I think that's all I need to say on the matter for this video. Thanks for listening.